Every week you swallow a credit card, not metaphorically, not as some vague exaggeration. According to a study commissioned by the World Wildlife Fund in 2019, the average human ingests approximately 5 grams of plastic every single week. That is the exact weight of a standard credit card. Over the course of a month, that adds up to the weight of a toothbrush. Over a year, you are consuming over 250 grams of pure plastic. And the worst part, you cannot see it. You cannot taste it. You cannot feel it. But it is already inside you right now, circulating through your bloodstream, lodged in your lungs, embedded in your organs. And this is the story of microplastics, the invisible curse of modern civilization. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you will never look at a bottle of water the same way again. Let us rewind to the beginning. Plastic was supposed to be humanity's greatest invention. In 1907, Leo Baekeland created Bakelite, the first fully synthetic plastic, and the world celebrated. Finally, a material that was cheap, durable, and endlessly versatile. Fast forward to today and we produce over 400 million tons of plastic every single year. But here is the problem nobody anticipated. Plastic does not die. It does not biodegrade. It simply breaks. It cracks. It splinters. Wind and waves and sunlight grind it down into smaller and smaller fragments until it becomes what scientists now call microplastics. Particles less than 5 millimeters in diameter. Some are so small they are invisible to the naked eye. And once they reach that size, they become something terrifying. They become omnipresent. They go everywhere. They penetrate everything. That is why researchers have given them a chilling nickname, the death particles. In 2005, scientists estimated roughly 16 trillion microplastic particles were floating in the world's oceans. By 2019, that number had exploded to approximately 171 trillion in just 14 years, a tenfold increase. And current projections suggest the ocean now holds over 230 trillion particles. Let that sink in for a moment. 230 trillion invisible fragments of plastic drifting through every ocean current, settling on every seafloor, being consumed by every marine organism from microscopic plankton to blue whales. But here is where the story takes a darker turn. The ocean is not even the worst of it. Let me ask you something. What do you think is the single largest source of microplastic contamination in soil, plastic bags, packaging? No, it is agricultural mulching film. These are thin plastic sheets that farmers lay over their fields to suppress weeds and retain moisture. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations reported that in 2019 alone, approximately 12.5 million tons of plastic products were used in agriculture globally, with mulching films being a major contributor. And here is the nightmare. Roughly 50% of agricultural plastics are never collected after use. They just sit there in the earth, slowly fragmenting into microplastics that seep deeper and deeper into the soil. Now imagine this. Those microplastic particles in the soil get absorbed by plant roots. They travel up through the stems. They reach the leaves. They reach the fruit. Scientists have confirmed this under microscopes. When you look at the internal tissue of plants grown in contaminated soil, you can see dark specks scattered throughout the cellular structure. Those specks are plastic. Your salad might be infused with plastic. Your rice almost certainly contains it. And if you think the solution is simply growing crops in clean soil, think again. Researchers conducted an experiment where they planted peas that had been exposed to microplastics into completely uncontaminated soil. The new generation of peas that grew from those seeds still contained microplastics. The contamination was inherited. It passed from parent plant to offspring regardless of the growing environment. Once a plant lineage is exposed, the damage appears to be permanent. But the contamination does not stop at the ground. It rises. In 2023, researchers from Waseda University in Japan collected cloudwater samples from the summit of Mount Fuji and Mount Oyama. They found 9 different types of microplastics suspended in the clouds, up to 13.9 particles per litre of cloud water. Think about what that means. Microplastics are now part of our weather system. They travel through the atmosphere, cross continents, and fall back to Earth with rain and snow. Scientists have found microplastic-laden snow in the Arctic, thousands of kilometers from any human settlement. There is no pristine place left on this planet, and all of it circles back to us, through the food chain, through the water we drink, through the very air we breathe. In 2022, researchers at Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam detected microplastics in human blood for the first time, finding plastic particles in nearly 80% of the people tested. Then, in January 2024, Columbia University published a study that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. They analysed bottled water using advanced laser-based imaging and found an average of 240,000 detectable plastic fragments per litre. 98% of those were nanoplastics, particles so small they can cross cellular membranes and enter individual cells. Every time you twist open the cap of a plastic water bottle, you are releasing additional microplastic particles from the friction of the threading. Every sip is a delivery mechanism. So what does all this plastic actually do inside your body? Animal studies are painting an increasingly alarming picture. When microplastics enter the body, they trigger inflammatory responses. Research has shown that mice fed microplastics developed intestinal damage, including what is known as leaky gut, where the lining of the intestine becomes compromised. But perhaps the most disturbing finding comes from a study published in the journal Environment International. Researchers fed pregnant mice microplastics for just 2 weeks. The offspring born from those mice displayed autism spectrum disorder-like behavior cuts by 4 weeks of age. When scientists examined the brains of these young mice, they found microplastics accumulated in clusters within the neural tissue. This was not genetic. This was acquired, passed from mother to child through prenatal exposure. And here is the thing that keeps researchers awake at night. We are the first generation of humans to live our entire lives surrounded by plastic from birth to death. We have no long-term data on what a lifetime of microplastic accumulation does to the human body. We are the experiment. Every single one of us is an unwilling test subject in the largest uncontrolled chemical exposure study in human history. We inhale microplastics with every breath. Studies suggest that when we exhale, only about 25% of the inhaled particles leave our lungs. The rest stays. It accumulates, year after year after year. The New York Times put it simply, plastics are in our bodies, in our lungs, our intestines, our blood. Even though we cannot see them or feel them, they are there. We are slowly becoming part plastic ourselves. So what can we do? The honest answer is that there is no way to completely avoid microplastics in 2026, but we can reduce our exposure. Because the alternative is to do nothing and watch as the very material we invented to make life easier slowly, invisibly, irreversibly infiltrates every cell of our bodies. Plastic was supposed to be humanity's servant. Somewhere along the way we became its host, and the parasite is not finished with us yet.